Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, folks of all ages. I hope you've all had a great night and you're ready for day 2 of LEGOthon. We got a lot of cool runs ready to go today. So without further ado, Tfresh can start up his run here of Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 4 free play. So Tfresh, whenever you're ready. Okay, looks like you're ready. We'll go ahead and start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and he's off. So this is a pretty interesting game. Playing through the first 4 Harry Potter movies, as the title of the game implies. We're starting off with the last level, 4-6, where you fight Voldemort at the end of year 4. And the reason he's doing this is because when you enter the level select screen, this level is the one that's furthest away from the default location that it goes to. We'll see a piece of tech that's going to be seen a lot throughout the run called fang jumping. If you were watching the last run of last night, the Pirates free play run, there's actually a very similar trick with the dog in that game where you can climb up walls. But the way it works basically is the dog has a larger hitbox than the other characters. So you jump into the wall as a character that's not the dog, switch to the dog, and the dog gets wedged into the wall, and then you can spam jump and infinite jump up walls. And right there you saw another piece of tech called a Lumos jump, which works when you select the spell Lumos, and you activate it, and then switch off it and double tap A. You can get a double jump. So those are the two of the big pieces of tech in this game used to gain height. So we'll see a lot of those throughout this run. Mostly the fang jumping, that's used a lot in free play. The Lumos jumping is actually also done in story, but fang jumping is a free play exclusive. That's the first level done. So Tfresh is playing the levels in backwards order, which is what he said. You can actually play them in any order except for playing 4-6 first, like I was talking about, since that one is in the bottom right corner. But he's going to play them in backwards order for simplicity's sake. So we're on to the Black Lake, which is an underwater level, and actually has some interesting pieces of tech. So you see he's going to attack into a slope, which will push him into the background, and then now he's out of bounds. So he's going to skip this whole room by doing that. And after that, he's going to enter the second room and do that same trick again to go out of bounds. Very interesting water level here, as water levels usually are. Some odd physics, since this is the only water level in the game. This is the only time we're going to see this tech, but you're going to see he's going to do the same piece of tech here again. And just go right out of bounds. Pretty broken level. Now this last room doesn't end on a transition like the first two, so he's not going to be able to just go out of bounds and skip it. He has to rescue 3 students. So that's the first student right there, and then I'll have 2 more. This is, of course, the part of the movie during which the Triwizard Tournament, the second task of the Triwizard Tournament happens, where they have to rescue their fellow students that matter to each of the 4 people in the Triwizard Tournament. And he's able to grab that one from the foreground. This room can be pretty annoying sometimes because the mermaids, they're pretty difficult to kill. They're pretty resilient enemies. But that wasn't too bad, so he's on to the next level now. Now this level is kind of strange, given that it doesn't really match the action level of the other levels in this episode, because it's just taking place in the bathroom. This is the part of the movie where Harry and Moaning Myrtle and Hermione, I guess, are deducing... No, it's just Harry, Moaning Myrtle. Hermione's just here because of free play, but this is where they're figuring out the secret of the egg to solve the puzzle, to figure out where the second task is. One of the interesting things about playing all these levels backwards is that we're going to see a lot of things in the wrong order. But hopefully everyone is familiar with Harry Potter, so that's not a problem. If you're not, there will be spoilers, so be careful. This is a pretty straightforward level, it's just 1P2C. I think that was a soft lock. It looks like one of the shells just vanished. That's unfortunate. So we're gonna see that again real quick. And while Tfresh runs through that again, we got a donation from Mr. Bacon Soda, $5, that says Tomlet. So thank you very much for that, Bacon. Very cool thing. Very cool. Alright, so Tfresh is going to be wrapping up this room for the second time here. Hopefully no soft lock this time. This is a good time to talk about... Tfresh is playing on the 1 through 7 version of the game on Xbox. So this is kind of a remastered version of the original game. It's a bundled version of 1 through 4 and 5 through 7. But this is just the 1 through 4 portion of that game. And that is important since free play is different between the two versions. There is a piece of tech in the original 1 through 4 game that was patched in the 1 through 7 remaster that allows you to just clip through walls. So that piece of tech called Accio clipping is not in this category, which does change it quite a bit. Tfresh said that he picked this version of the game because it's a bit more stable than the 1 through 4 version, and the Accio clipping I was talking about can lead to crashes. So for the sake of a marathon, the 1 through 7 collection tends to be the more enjoyable version of the game for just everyday watching. So that's the end of that level. On to 4-3, and there's a pretty interesting skip right at the beginning of the run here. If you watched the run last night, there is a extra called Fall Rescue, and what Tfresh is going to do, he's going to get a respawn point on top of the wall, hit Fall Rescue, get launched into the sky, and then he's going to glide through the air by switching on and off the dog repeatedly, which is what he did right there at the end, to get a little bit of extra distance, and then get right into the trigger and skip the entirety of Room 1. Pretty interesting piece of tech. I know usually Tfresh starts with that. I think it's kind of difficult, but obviously for a no reset situation, it doesn't really matter where you start. So he just started with the fastest level. But that's cool, first try. We'd love to see that. Love to see that. This segment is just an auto-scroller. There is some things you can do where player 2 dies, and then sometimes they'll spawn in front of you to save some time. It's not super consistent though, and sometimes they just spawn behind you. But you can save large chunks of time from that. On to the next level. This is the part of the movie where Harry figures out about the dragons for the first task. We're going to see a lot of fang jumping in this level, as it's actually a pretty linear level when you can skip everything. So this room has a bunch of puzzles with dragons that you're supposed to go through, but we skip them in every category of the game, or rather you can skip them in every category of the game. In this category, it's the fang jumping. This is another room with dragons that we'll not see. I don't think we see any dragons actually in this level, really, except for this one. We do see this one, but just barely. We don't really interact with this one. Tfresh is going to do some more fang jumping to get around the obstacles here. And he actually did a series of jumps off of like the collision of the wall there to kind of lengthen his jumps. And he'll just jump right into the end level trigger there. And that is dragons. Super fast level in free play. Pretty good level as well. Alright, and one more level in this episode. This level has an end level trigger, which we'll see in the second room. Before we get there, we have the first room where you have to save the Weasleys plus Harry. Actually, it's just the Weasleys. Harry's in the second room. But once we get to room 2, Tfresh is gonna... He's having a little bit of trouble with this Lumos jump. It's kind of interesting because you have to jump kind of over a sloped surface, and if you hit it in the wrong way, you're just gonna fall off it. But he got it there. And in room 2, we're gonna see, and Tfresh is just doing that for fun because you have to wait. So we're gonna see another fang jump to get out of bounds here. And this room is actually really long, and casually it has a boss fight at the end of it. But since there's an end level trigger, you can skip this whole first part of the room as well as the boss fight by just going out of bounds and running along the out of bounds. And he has to do a short hop to the end level trigger here. He does get it first try. Good job, Tfresh. And that is year 4. In just about 11 minutes and some change. Pretty crazy how fast levels in this game are when you're able to jump up walls and skip everything. So now on to year 3. This is not from the movie, actually. This level is more or less original to the game. Doesn't really happen in the movie. This is supposed to be when Hermione and Harry go and rescue Sirius Black from, or not Azkaban, the Dark Tower of Hogwarts, which was like one scene in the movie, but in the game it's an entire level. So you're gonna see Tfresh do something interesting here. Or what he attempted to do there was enter the transition right as the cutscene was starting. He didn't quite get it though, but doing that would skip the cutscene, which saves a little bit of time. It's not a huge deal though, because you do have to like backtrack through the level if you miss it, or if you get it. You'll also see that Tfresh does animation cancels to fire shots faster. Because normally your rate of fire is actually like incredibly slow if you don't do that, but you can shoot pretty quickly when you can cancel shots. So he's just gonna plow through the Dementors here like it's no thing at all. This is a pretty slow boss fight, unfortunately. No way around it, though. It's just you have to fight waves of Dementors and then fight King Dementor. Alright, and that is the end of 3-6. Now we're on to 3-5. This is a pretty straightforward level. The first room, you're freeing Buckbeak from his doom. And that's just a 1P2C room. I guess I haven't talked too much about 1P2C yet. Obviously, if you were here yesterday, you've seen a lot of 1P2C already. But 1P2C, Tfresh is controlling both players to speed up sections. And he does that with 2 controllers, not only because he's playing on Xbox, but also because that is his preferred method. And that's not the most common way of doing it. A lot of people do controller keyboard, but double controller does have its merits from having extra movement flexibility on both characters. And in a game like this, where switching and spells are important, having both characters on controller means that you can use the triggers and the bumpers on both characters for spell and character swaps. A little bit of trouble getting this Fang jump. That's kind of a weird spot since there's a slope there. In this room you build a music thing to play a record to distract a werewolf, which did not happen in the movie, believe it or not. But that's alright. Happening in the game. And now you just gotta scare some Dementors out of hiding and then kill them. And that'll do it for this level. Then we'll be on to the next level, which has a pretty interesting trick right at the beginning. Which takes advantage of a piece of tech called pet recalling, which when you put out a pet as Hermione, you can move the pet away, and if you can put a line between where the pet is when you recall them back to you and where you are, and that line passes through a transition, you hit that transition. So he's gonna go over this wall, land on out of bounds, and then fall out of the world and land on the collision underneath the wall, take out his pet as Hermione, jump back in bounds, and then come around to where the transition is for the end of this fight, recall it, skip the boss fight. Which is pretty awesome. Pretty cool piece of tech there. It's worth mentioning Fang has a faster movement speed than other characters, so using Fang when just barely missing that cycle, that's unfortunate. Using Fang when you can does save time. Tier's going to do an interesting skip here that's just a one-off, pretty much only used right here, but he shot his character with Transfiguration, and I was walking into the wall, and right there, once they turn back, they just clip into the vines, so you can skip doing the other 2 vines, and you only need to do the one. Transfiguration in story, actually, has a pretty similar effect as Fang jumping. It's just quite a bit slower because the animation takes like 10 seconds to switch back, but basically you can shoot your character, your player 2, with Transfiguration, and they'll turn into a rat or a frog, and then you can walk into a wall, and if you're hugging the wall when you turn back, you'll clip into the wall when you turn back into a human. You'll see a lot of that from during the 1 through 4 story run tomorrow by Loopy, so if you're interested in that, be sure to come back and check that out tomorrow. It'll be a cool run. One of the cool things about this game is pretty much all the categories are interesting. Story and free play both have a lot of skips in them, and they're pretty distinct as well as the longer categories too. It's always cool to see a lot of Harry Potter. We do have a lot of Harry Potter at the event this year. I think it's something like 6 different runs from something Harry Potter, which is very cool. We have another one later today, which isn't in one of the 2 main Harry Potter games. It's from the LEGO Dimensions game, a run of the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them story pack of that game, which I personally have never seen before, so I'm looking forward to that. This level is pretty simple, just some Fang jumping to get over everything in room 1. We'll see a little bit more Fang jumping in this room. Actually, I think this level is just 5 Fang jumps, and that is all. That's all you do. That's the whole level. A lot of Fang jumping. Yep, that's the level. That's supposed to be where you're chasing down Wormtail using the Marauders map. But you don't do a lot of chasing down Wormtail when you can switch into a dog and jump into the ceiling. This is Hogsmeade. Pretty fun level. This first room has a lot of cool stuff in it. Tfresh is going to jump up this wall and then do another glide by swapping characters to kind of gain some distance on his way down. Just skip that whole gap, and then he'll do a Lumos jump there. And then get one more Fang jump out here. Ooh, almost missed that one, but Tfresh landed it there. He's gonna glide over this snowman that Malfoy made and then go into this fight. There's actually a really long boss fight in this room, but we don't really like boss fights, so we're not gonna do that. Tfresh is gonna do a cutscene skip at the end of this room to skip the cutscene of the big snowball. So he needs to attach 3 brooms to this snowball. I think he went a little early because he had one more to go. There you go. Okay. So basically what he did there is he was standing right next to the transition, and then he put down his pet as Hermione, which gives him like a really small leeway, or a really small window before he hits the transition, and also will move a character during a cutscene, which allows him to basically press the pet button right before he puts the thing in place, and then he's able to skip the cutscene. But this boss fight does not have any skips, and you have to fight a book. So Tfresh is going to have a grand old time just chilling, waiting for this to resolve, since this boss fight is pretty slow. There is actually an out-of-bounds trigger that would allow us to skip this room, but we currently have no way of escaping this room. It's just in the doorway. There's a trigger that skips this room, but has yet to be hit in any game, or any version of this game. There was just some way to wedge ourselves like half a unit into the door to the right of this room. Would be skippable. Unfortunately, there's no such way. Alright, on to the second room of this level, which is actually a pretty good room. Or I guess there's not so much in this category. In any percent, this room is really cool. It's a really complex 1P2C. But in this category, you don't need to make a strength potion, so there's a lot less 1P2C going on. While Tfresh is doing this, I'm going to read another donation. $15 from Laser Trap. Thank you very much, Laser Trap. So in this room, you're just kind of giving candies to some students so that you can get the key out of the candy box and open the candy door. And now it's nighttime, and it's scary. And Tfresh is going to do another trick with Transfiguration there. The transition of that wall kind of sticks out a little bit. So if you make your hitbox smaller, it makes it easier to hit. Or it's able to hit without opening the door. And with laser traps, donation, we actually hit the incentive for the Lego Incredibles arcade % bonus run. So that will happen after Snolid's run later tonight. So thank you again, Laser Trap, for the donation. That leaves just one more incentive left. We're $40 away from the LEGO Star Wars 3 Purchase Gonk After Run incentive for Chess's LSW3 run tomorrow. So if you're looking forward to seeing Gonk, make sure we hit that goal by the end of today. I'm confident that we will be able to, based on how we've been pacing so far with donations. We should have absolutely no problem raising another $40 before that run tomorrow. Everyone has been very generous so far this event, and we're very happy to see that. Now we're on to year 2. Once again in the bathroom. This bathroom is the entrance to the Chamber of Secrets. And unfortunately, there is not a skip for this without Accio. There is an Accio skip in this room, but we do not have Accio like I was talking about earlier, because it does not work on the 1 through 7 collection. So Tfresh has to do this room the intended way, which is rather unfortunate, because if we found some way to clip it out of the wall into behind where the sink is, this room would be skippable, but there is no such way to do so, which is rather unfortunate, as this is a slow and not very exciting room. But such is life. Such is life. Alright, and that will lead to the end of this room. Very soon we'll enter the Chamber of Secrets, and we'll get to see the, Oh, hey, Tfresh did a piece of tech I haven't talked about yet. So what he just did there was called a pet warp. It's not used so often in this category, but basically what it is you use Wingardium Leviosa on a character right as they put down a pet, and it warps the pet to the default location, which most of the time is not in a useful spot. But occasionally, like right there, it's above the entrance for where the trigger to the transition is. So you can skip most of the cutscene by doing that pet warp there. We'll see another pet warp later on in the run in year 1. There might be another one I'm forgetting about, but there's definitely one more in year 1 that we'll get to. It's used more often in any % because in the hub there's a lot of places where you can pet warp to route out movement or skip puzzles, but it's used a lot less in free play. And it's not actually all that useful in the levels themselves. And a lot of times they don't really save all that much time either. So there's 3 phases to this fight, and then once you get all 3 potion ingredients, you can beat it, but you don't actually have to do the potion. This is a pretty scripted boss fight. You have to go through the motions of the intended way to beat it. And then you can just jump up here, clip through that ceiling thing, and now stab the snake, and that'll be the end of this level. There it is. On to the next level, which is Follow the Spiders, where Harry and Ron went to go talk to Aragog, the giant spider in the Forbidden Forest. We don't do a lot of talking with the spider in this run, though. We mostly just fight him and then run away from him. First room has some Fang stuff, though. You'll see we just did a glide there, and there's going to be a pair of... Actually, I think there's 3 fang jumps here. I was going to say 2, but I believe there's 3. It's a pretty tricky one at the end of this room that I'm pretty sure Tfresh is going to go for here. Yeah, he is. So this trigger is kind of like underneath the floor. It's not like behind it. So what Tfresh did there is he kind of went around the back wall and then curved back in and got jumps off of the back of the wall there, and then was able to come in and hit the transition. Another boss fight. Kind of a common theme of this game is that the rooms that don't have boss fights tend to be pretty fast, and then the rooms that have boss fights are just running around in circles and going through the boss fight. We do see a lot of that in LEGO, though. There's a lot of boss fights that are not skippable, unfortunately. This boss fight does have some strats with it, though. These black spiders, which are the ones you toss back, you can kind of just push them into Aragog, except for... Sorry, that was not the word I meant to say. You can just push them into Aragog, and then right when they hit him, it'll attack him. What you're supposed to do with it is you're supposed to pick up the spider and then twirl it around and throw it at him, but pushing is quite a bit faster. This section is not quite an auto-scroller, but it's mostly an auto-scroller, where you just kind of lose time to running into things. But it's mostly just about taking good lines and not having spiders on top of you. Tfresh has a couple of spiders on top of him, but he doesn't seem to mind too much. You can also honk the horn by hitting attack, which is a very cool thing. Glad that's in the game. Alright, and just this one more small room, that'll be the end of this. You can't get rid of spiders on 1 through 7. That is news to me. Very interesting. Unfortunate. And 1 through 4 anyway, the original version of the game, you can get rid of spiders. This next level is also features a boss fight with Moaning Myrtle, and it features everybody's favorite thing in speedruns, RNG. So, there's 3 phases to this fight. This first phase has no RNG in it. It's just send back the 3 things that Myrtle sends out and shoot her once. Phase 2, there's a 1 in 4 chance that each of these items can be a silver item, and silver items are not interactable, like that one right there. So if she throws a silver item, you have to go out for an additional cycle. So that's 2 silver items so far this boss fight. We'll see how many he gets. I know Tfresh recently got up to 11. That's number 3. 18, excuse me. That's unfortunate. Tfresh missed the force on that one. Has to do another cycle there. So 3 silver items, which I think is slightly below average. I'm not a statistics guy though, so... Okay, that's 4 and 5. Six. Now, if he gets this one fast here, I think this is actually not that bad. I think that might be around average. That's the end of that boss fight. I think the expected value ends up somewhere in like the 5 to 7 range. So 6 sounds about right. Gonna do a little bit of a fang jump here to get up here. And then the pig will get out of the way, and he can just run towards there. One interesting thing about this level, not in this version of the game, because this is 1 through 7, and this was one of the things that was patched, but in the original version of this game, in any percent, you just do the Moaning Myrtle boss fight in the bathroom, and then you exit the level, and the game thinks that you beat the whole level, as opposed to just that one part of the level. Which is pretty crazy, but it also soft locks your game from 100%ing, which is why they patched it, because people casually encountered that and were not very happy. That does not affect this category. I just thought it was pretty cool. Definitely is a cool skip that saves multiple minutes in any percent. We're now on to Crab and Goyle, where Harry and Ron make a polyjuice potion and then pretend to be the aforementioned Crab and Goyle. So Tfresh has to put together a potion in this room to turn into 2 Slytherin boys, and then he'll go and enter the Slytherin common room. This is actually one of my favorite levels in the game. I think it's pretty cool. It has some cool... This 1P2C in this room is actually pretty fun. And there's a skip in the second room, which is pretty cool. It's also a pretty consistent level, so it's just about minor optimizations and straight execution, which I find pretty cool. That's why I like this level so much. We're going to see another pet recall in this room, so Tfresh is going to head back and then jump forward with his pets, recall it, hit the trigger, skip that room entirely. This last room, there is no skip for. There is actually an auto-bounds trigger that ends this room, but it doesn't work in free play, and in story, it doesn't beat the level, it just ends the level, so then you have to play the level again. Tfresh is just going to jump on top of the wall here, since he has time to kill before the level ends itself. On to Dobby's plan, where Dobby is trying to kill Harry Potter, so Harry Potter's friends will try and kill Dobby. There is a crash when that can happen in this level that Tfresh was talking about, so hopefully we will see no such crash. This is another pretty good level, has some cool movement stuff in it. You'll see that this game is rather broken with Fang jumping, man. It's just in like every level. Turns out when you can jump up walls infinitely, it saves a lot of time. This last room, we just have to hit Dobby a couple more times. And then we'll enter the last room of the level where Harry's bone is broken and we have to fix it with a spell. Cool. So this is, I don't remember what the spell's called, or the potion. I think it's like Bone Grow or something like that. I think I have pretty decent Harry Potter knowledge, but that is one area I'm not actually sure what the potion's called, but it makes bones grow. Skelegrow, that's what it is. Thank you. Skelegrow. Tfresh actually skipped a cutscene with that skeleton there by entering the transition right as it was about to start. That one is called Skeleton Skip. It's one of the older cutscene skips. After getting the Skelegrow finished, Tfresh is gonna Skele-go to 2-1. I'll see myself out after that one. But this is a level where you're heading to Hogwarts from the Weasley house using the flue powder in the chimney. This is the last level of year 2, and then we just have year 1 left, and that'll be the end of the run for Tfresh. So you have to rescue Ginny from the cabinet so that the picture frame will interact with you. And then now we're gonna go to Diagon Alley, but wait, we're not in Diagon Alley because Harry Potter said diagonally and it took him to Nocturne Alley instead. Classic Harry Potter. This cutscene is rather long, unfortunately, but we're almost out of this room. And then that'll be the end of this episode after some quick fang jumping here. Pretty short and straightforward level there. One of the most consistent levels in the game from its story perspective. It's a little bit different in free play, but on to year 1, starting with the end of year 1. This is where you fight Voldemort on the back of Quirrell's head. So first, he's just gonna ignore Fluffy real quick, because Fluffy doesn't actually have like any collision on the back half, and also is just kind of derping out there. During the cutscene, the floor will open. Dude, Fluffy's just going hard right now. That looks so weird. Alright, well that was the first challenge. I think there's 3 of them in the movie anyway. There's more in the book, but they skip part of the book. This is challenge 2 that involves a broom and some keys, which just so happens to fit towards Harry Potter's skill set. And then gotta play chess. Chess is actually a pretty interesting part of this level. There's a lot of like micro time saves in the chess. You can cancel the animations by shooting the chess pieces as they start. You'll see he actually got the one there. Actually, I'm not sure if you can do it on this version of the game or not. Doesn't fully work on this. Okay, I assume because he wasn't going for it, that doesn't work. You'll have to excuse me. I'm more used to the original version, which has some small differences in a number of places, versus the remaster. That'll be the end of chess, though. Checkmate. Black wins. Now we're gonna go fight Quirrell, and once again we're presented with a boss fight that is a lot of waiting around for cycles of things to happen. So Quirrell's gonna shoot fireballs at Harry's, and then occasionally he'll shoot a green floating Voldemort head, which will throw back at him. And then Harry will touch his forehead and burn him. Classic 11-year-old behavior. This second phase is much like the first one, except there's more fire and there's more fireballs being thrown at Harry. And believe it or not, the third phase, much like the first and second, is more of the same, plus more fire and more fireballs being thrown at Harry. Excellent boss fight right here. And that'll do it for 1-6. On to Forbidden Forest, which is another pretty cool level that has some cool movement in it. The forest levels tend to have good rooms in them, and this one is all good rooms, actually. This is just a solid level. It's just taking good lines and skipping everything. It's pretty good. So, Tfresh is going to do a quick fang jump here. Quick hop up top. And that'll be room 1 pretty much completely. And that's room 2 already. And then this is room 3, and that's the whole level. This is a very fast level. Just gonna take a quick swim here over to the wall. Then jump up. And do one more quick fang jump here. Just a quick hop up top. And that's the whole level. Very fast level. There's a lot of small puzzles you're supposed to do, but it's a very fast level when you can skip everything in it. That is a level that every room ends on a transition, which usually when every room ends on a transition in LEGO games, that means you can finish the level very quickly, as there's not a lot of things getting in your way. Now we're going to the restricted section of the library, which is another level that has a lot of fang jumping to skip everything. You'll see it a bit here, where Tfresh is going to fang jump and skip everything in this room. And believe it or not, he's going to do the same thing in the second room, once he hits that transition there. Do have to watch these camera pan cutscenes though, which is a little unfortunate. Luckily, Filch is too busy grunting to grab Fang when he's right next to him, so no problem getting around Filch there. And that'll be room 2. Room 3, no transition, but it's pretty short. And that's the entirety of this level. One of the things about the first episode is that the levels are designed to be beaten without very many spells, so they're pretty simple. The first level of the game you actually only have Wingardium Leviosa in, so there really doesn't have like that much complexity in these levels, since you're not supposed to have too much. We're going to see another strat here. Actually, we're not going to see the strat that I was just talking about, because I was thinking of a replay story strat, but Tfresh is going to fang jump up there and then skip everything in this room and murder that student to avoid a cutscene playing. And this is, I think, the shortest level in the game, because that is the entire level right there. Alright, on to Out of the Dungeon, where a troll comes out of the dungeon. There's another pet warp here, which can be used to skip most of the room. And Tfresh, since you need a girl to enter the bathroom, since it's the girl's bathroom, but in free play you can just do a drop-in warp to skip everything in that room. So that pet warp skips a cutscene trigger, which allows you to not interact with the troll, and then go all the way to the end of the room. And now we once again have a boss fight, which is a lot of waiting around for scripted actions to occur, as is common in Harry Potter. But we're almost done with this boss fight, so this is actually one of the less long ones, though right at the beginning there's this character manip you have to do to get a faster interaction with or skip an animation with the troll, and Tfresh did land it. I'm not sure if that's consistent on 1 through 7, but on the 1 through 4 collection it's kind of not super consistent. Just one more level now. We're on to Magic Begins, where Harry's journey starts, is where this run will end, with the last level of the run. Quickly escaping the leaky cauldron here. Like I said, this level is probably the simplest level, as at least from a design perspective, as all you have the first time you play this is Wingardium Leviosa, so all the puzzles are pretty straightforward. It's just using magic, building a cauldron. I guess you do have strength because you have Hagrid in your character wheel here. And you also get a grip hook later on in this level. But I don't think, actually, we do use grip hook once. We skip this interaction with grip hook here by doing a Fang wall climb and hitting the transition behind that wall. But this run is almost over. There's only 2 rooms left. It looks like Tfresh is going to be getting a 49 RTA here. He's probably pretty happy with that. Other than the soft lock, this has been just a fine run, I think. And time. 49:48 on my timer. GG Tfresh. And that is Lego Harry Potter Years 1 through 4. Pretty cool game. Pretty interesting free play category. If you're looking for more of that game, I guess I'll just plug the Discord real quick, because the Harry Potter game, Lego Harry Potter speedrunning, has its own Discord. It's the 4th link in there. Yeah, the 4th link in that list. So if you're interested in Lego Harry Potter, feel free to join that Discord or any of the other ones. But yeah, thank you Tfresh so much for the run. And we'll be back here in a minute with the Lego Star Wars All Challenges run from Parker Jackson. So sit tight and we'll be right back.